Hello and welcome to Module 1 of our Theological Integration course. Let me begin by just reminding you of the big picture where we're going. Today we want to focus on just our own identity as persons and as Christians and as ministers. And we'll do a lot of work around that when we're actually here together on campus, although hopefully we're addressing that along the way. But I also wanted to do a little bit of focus here on the front end with some concepts around leadership. One of the things, as I mentioned in the introductory video, that seems to come up over and over again when people think about the transition from seminary into a ministry is how little attention has been paid to actually how you lead an organization. The reality is, whether you like it or not, if you're in ministry, you're going to be a part of organizational leadership. And I look back on my own years of ministry, and I realize how little of that I got. And years later, as I got to teach some leadership courses and study leadership as a formal discipline, it gave me some theoretical perspectives and some tools for actually how you do that. And so I look back often on my years of local church ministry and think, I wish I had known some of this back then. I think I would have been more effective. And so today we want to begin that process by introducing you to just a really basic model of leadership and organizational change. Now, I've been teaching this for a number of years, and my undergraduate students would affectionately call this the Selby model. So if you want to call it that, the Selby model. But it's a way of describing what, at least for me, and every time I've ever been successful in bringing about some kind of organizational change, whether it be in the church, at the university where I taught, in other nonprofits I was a part of, as I look back and I think, all right, how did that happen? It seems to follow the same path. And as I have explored the literature, as I've explored and watched how others have done it successfully or not successfully, wow, it's like this model seems to explain it so well. So I want to share that with you. I'm going to begin with 3 stories. So I want us to do this a little more inductively. So I'm going to begin by telling you about 3 stories of times I got it right. The first one involves my work with a church camp. And this was something that I was a part of leading in early 2000s. So this is almost 25 years ago now. And so what I want to give you is, first of all, a little story about something that I was a part of leading at this organization. Okay, what I want you to do is get a partner and then go across with your partner. You can, there are a variety of ways you can do it. You can just kind of hold your partner's shoulder.
The Confidence course is a series of pieces of equipment that we've built and put throughout the woods here on the hillside, and then there's a few over on the other, kind of on the other part of the trail. A lot of the idea we got from a place called Genesee Valley, which is an outdoor education center, and some of the kids have done similar kinds of things elsewhere. And we wanted something that would give them an opportunity to work together, to cooperate with each other, to build a sense of camaraderie among their fellow campers, and also just to have some opportunity to challenge themselves. So much of what they do is competitive. So really as early as age 4, these kids are involved in competitive activities that cause them to, or that put them in situations where in order to succeed, someone else has to fail. And we really wanted to have something that would be a little different out here at camp. And so the idea here is that to succeed, everybody has to get across. And there's the wall down there. Again, it's not just getting you over, it's getting everybody over. In fact, some of these are designed so that you can't do it on your own. You have to have somebody to help you. And so what we typically do Sunday afternoons, we bring them all out here. We bring the guys first, and they go through it, and then they go off in. And then in our devotionals that night, we process together, talk about what they experienced and what they learned from it. And it's been a neat experience. How about if you step off? What's that kind of like? Kind of like sin, okay? And what do you need to do if you step off? Get back on, okay? God's biggest concern when you step off is not that you stepped off. God's biggest concern is that you won't get back on.
So that was the Camp Omava Confidence Course. So let me tell you a little bit about how that came about. I had been involved in this church camp. I'd actually gone to it as an elementary school kid. I think I was probably about 8 years old the first time I went. Went all the way up through junior high, stayed away for a while. In high school, that's another story. Came back the summer after I graduated from high school. Ended up working that summer. It was a place where I kind of had my conversion experience, multiple conversion experiences. When I was done with college, I came back and worked there. And I taught, volunteered every week. Eventually, I came out there for the full 6-7 weeks of the summer and ran their educational program. My wife, Tammy, was their arts and crafts person. So we had been a part of that camp forever. We knew everybody. Tammy was actually on the board. All that to say, we had a lot of influence, a lot of credibility among the people who were leading, the decision makers of that camp. One of the things that had always bothered me about the camp is that all of our recreational stuff was competitive. We were there, we were this Christian camp, we were all, our purpose was to inculcate, to encourage Christian values, and part of that is the value community. And yet, if you looked at what we were actually doing, the practices that we engaged in day after day, they were all competitive sports. And it really bothered me that we don't have anything that's really kind of building community. It's pitting everybody against each other. So that was always kind of a little bit of a concern of mine. When my own kids were in elementary school, one of the things that we took them to an elementary school, their ex-school, it was a school trip, was a kind of a low ropes confidence course. So these pieces of apparatus where you have to get everybody up over a wall or get everybody across and the key thing was that they had to problem solve together. So they had to figure out, they had everything they need to get across, although they weren't sure how to do it. And they had to problem solve, and they also had to work together. So some of those things, you'd see a really strong kid who could maybe just leap across the chasm by himself, but you didn't accomplish what you needed to accomplish because the goal is to get everybody across. You haven't succeeded, you haven't won until everybody is across. I was so impressed by that process when I saw it. And so I started talking to people, board members, other people that we worked with. Hey, I went and saw this thing at Camp Let's. It's really, really cool. We could do this at Camp Omava. And eventually I got the president and vice president of the board to go on a little field trip with me so they could actually see the camp where my kids had gone to. And so they got to see this and they got excited about it. And so as we talked about it, they gave me the okay. I went to my church where I was in ministry at the time, and I got them to kick in $1,000. I talked to some other people, got the money, and then put together kind of a vision for what it would look like. I went out, I built a number of them myself. I got some other people to help me, and so we actually built these pieces of apparatus out in the woods. There at Camp Omava. And then I had to actually, once we put them in place, design a curriculum around it, do a schedule for how this would fit into the week-to-week program. But it was wildly successful. And actually, if you go to the Camp Omava website, it's womava.com, and you do the little tour, you will see the You will see one of the places on the tour is the confidence course, and you can see all the pieces of apparatus. And so I can tell you it's pretty exciting to me to see that they're still using it 25 years later. Okay, so that's the first story.